Summit Point has become a haven for club racers on the East Coast, but the sprawling facility started with one simple racetrack, and that's what we're facing off on today as we get ready for the PCA Sim Racing Series 12 Club Class, and you'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and I'll be joined later by Michael Johnson, while behind the scenes is our director, Hugo Louise. As we saw yesterday, this track is not very long, and it looks deceptively simple, but it is anything but in execution. It's narrow, it's quite swift with a lot of technical sections, and it is going to be so tough to pass around this place. Really only one major spot that you're going to see drivers attempt, and that's down into turn one at the hairpin. There are other places they're attempting, sometimes at wagon wheel in turn three, then of course down into turn five. We will often refer to it as yard sale because of how many times cars go off there. It's a place where drivers will try, but I can't guarantee we'll see anything. And then, of course, turn 10, you can see as a nice stretch heading up that way. As for the points, it's still relatively close, considering we've gotten quite a few rounds in. 5 points separating Fernandez and Gonzalez. That's with a drop week helping them out, of course, in the 3 events that we've done so far. From there, only 4 more points down to Lenny Holland, who sits in third. And Gonzalez is still looking for his first win this season, as his 2 scores that do count are both second places. So that's going to be fascinating to watch throughout the season if he can finally get that one down. Now, one thing that we're excited to announce is that Charlie Mobile is sponsoring the Series 12 Clean Drive Reward and Event 4 broadcasts here on RaceSpotTV. Also, Charlie Mobile is providing an Apple iPhone 16 and a year of service to the combined classes winner overall. So that'll be very cool to watch them get to award a fantastic new iPhone to a driver who has been very good out of everybody all season long. And a big thanks to them for helping sponsor this season of PCA and get us out there. But we're in the midst of qualifying right now, and it looks like it is nobody actually on top, because we still don't have actually any times up. So it's still a bit of a waiting game, but they get 3 laps in this qualifying session maximum to set a time. Any lap you do after that will not count, and drivers have to get it done relatively quickly, especially considering the fact that we're looking at 109s, 110s for the best drivers here in the club class. We saw the pros last night. They were down to the 108s even. So this won't quite be that quick, but seriously seeing some speed pick up here now that we're into event 4 for this club class. We might see some graduation next season. Looks like Lenny Holland is going to be our fastest amongst the first few through, with Peter Sigourney sitting in second place. And that is separated by about 3/10, which is rather large for a track like this, considering, like I said, you're looking at the 109, 110 lap time. So that's impressive what he's been able to do to separate himself. But that's just the first lap. So let's wait and see amongst the roughly 30 drivers what's going to happen on the second time around. David Glenn here in the number 172 is yet to set a lap, because it looks like his first one did not count. A bit unfortunate on that front, but he has those 2 others to try and back himself up. And with it being early in the morning, you can see the sun glares a little bit coming along the backstretch up into Paddock Bend. This is the last corner coming around onto the main straight. He's going to need this one. You don't want to start from the back here with it being so tough to overtake. Second lap does count, and it's a 1:10.3. That's good enough for 7th place so far. Now hop on board with Robert LaCroix here down in the 7:18. He's jumped into 7th ahead of David Glenn, actually, on this most recent lap. He's on his final flyer now, running a VR set and a motion rig, it looks like. So that's a really cool setup that he's got there to show us what kind of tricks you can use to help give you that little seat of the pants feel. We wait for him to set that final time around. This is down in the yard sale and into the carousel now. Like we were talking about before, this is the more technical portion of the lap. And then through the S's. And onto the ever-critical turn 9 onto the back stretch, trying to get that throttle down as quick as he can without going off course. We've seen yesterday how much that can hurt you. Lenny Holland now takes the fastest lap of the race with a 109.6 in the meantime. So where is this going to put Robert on his last attempt? He'll cross the line. A 110 flat, that's pretty good. That'll crack him into the top 10. In the meantime, sounds like we might have Michael Johnson ready to talk to us about this event. Michael, it is the ever narrow, the ever terrifying Summit Point in the GT3 Cup cars. That's going to be real tricky with almost 30 drivers out there.
Summit Point with 30 drivers is definitely going to be tricky. It's a course designed, I think, in the late 60s. It's actually, I should know more about this because technically I'm still a staff instructor there. But yeah, it is one of the most exciting courses for racing. There's so many opportunities out there to really set someone up. You can take a little time off of a section to give yourself a run. I'm a little biased because I do work here and I do love the track. I think there's a lot, but man, these GT cars are going to be a handful on this track. It is a bit of a monster when you're in a car this fast. I've seen like TCR cars out there and they're right on the edge, but these GT3s, the speeds they reach and the speed they can go through these corners, you're typically looking at the higher downforce settings with this track. But you got to watch out for your outside little bits of grass here and there, because especially here in the sim, they will just grab hold of your car and send you for a spin.
Absolutely, and let's not forget it's the GT3 Cup cars as well. So slightly slower than GT3 class, but still a lot of oomph underneath them. The 30s completed all of his lap. Andrew Elsom only good enough for 27th. Unfortunately, you might be able to help us out because how recently have you last been to Summit Point? Because you and I were kind of wondering, have they since added walls ahead of the trees in a lot of places? Because they only have the embankments here.
Well, the track is very different. The surface of the track, I should say, is very different. That line that runs down the middle, like the pavement lane, that's not there currently, unless they put it back on since the last time I was there, not that long ago. But it is really mostly just the embankments. And I recall doing some work there one day where a Viper turned into a Vulture, because coming out of turn 8, it was slightly damp. It still had paper tags on it too. That was bad. But put the power down in that Viper, and boy, did it ever climb up in that tree. Oh boy, yeah. So it hit that embankment and then went straight up into the tree and was hung up there. And we had to close the track for about a good hour trying to figure out how to get the people out of the car and then how to get the car out of the tree.
That is absolutely terrifying. Kind of amazed that they still haven't.
Imagine being in the car.
Yeah. Can't believe they still haven't put some walls in a number of places, and there's no wall here you can see in this version for Julian Velez coming into pit lane. Thankfully, none of the pros overshot that, but I always worry, and I have seen it in the sim before, that drivers can go beyond. But it looks like, I think we are about ready for the grid here in a second, because all of our drivers have wrapped up except for James Hayosh, and he's out of time to get a competitive lap in at this stage. So 31 drivers supposedly going to be taking to the grid out there. We'll see whether all of them get there or not, but it's certainly been a fun one from what we saw yesterday, because we had, I think, 31 there yesterday as well, 31 or 32. And amazingly, we had, it was something like 24 drivers managed to finish on the lead lap. So they've really done a good job of putting everybody in a competitive split here, Michael.
Yeah, indeed. This is a track really that helps separate people into groups. You learn really how fast you are, because so much of the technical portion of this track, which is really most of it except the front straight, but how you come out of turn 10, that's really technical. Do you use all the track? When you're coming up into 1, where do you apex? Do you realize that 1 and 2 are kind of a single turn, and how you make that double apex? So there's so much technique in this class, at this track, that it helps really to help define what class a person should be racing in. I love this track for so many reasons.
And here is the starting order. We can see coming across the screen as we've got Lenny Holland on the pole, with Yoko going to be on the outside of him. Watch out for Ben Leone as well. But we'll scroll through here. The 31, we believe, are going to be starting while they head into the warm-up of this one. And there, Aaron Ambrosino amongst the last of them with Hayosh. The final one on the field, unable to set a time in qualifying. Now, we had mentioned earlier, Charlie Mobile, well, they're your ticket to staying connected at full throttle. With lightning fast 5G speeds and unlimited data, talk, and text, they're the wireless service for those who live life in the fast lane. Whether you're tracking lap times or sharing your latest victory with fellow Porsche fans, Charlie Mobile has you covered with 0 hidden fees or contracts. Plus, they're proud to give back, donating to causes that matter both locally and beyond. Ready to join a wireless service that goes the extra mile? Switch to Charlie Mobile and experience the difference on and off the track. So we get ready now in this warm-up session. 5 minutes to prepare. So you said you've coached drivers out here. Let's say you're preparing these drivers before this race down in the drivers' meeting here, Michael. What's the biggest advice you've got for them?
Probably the number one thing I tell people here is patience is key. You cannot attack this track because the limits here are grass. The curbing, depending on where you are, turn 1 is a great example here in the sim. Turn 1, that curb is very high and it will send your car for quite the bounce. But if you're going to go running through turn 3, you want that curbing on the exit and you're going to run it all the way out. So maybe a little less patience there, but honestly, number one thing at this track, and the biggest thing this track has taught me over the decades, is be patient.
And we saw that yesterday, that a lot of drivers had to be patient. It came down to the pit stops, of which you will see at least one for all the drivers here today. They do not have enough fuel to make it to the end. Last time, it seemed like the window went to, about 13 minutes left on the clock in this 60-minute race. So it's a pretty wide window, and with it being such a short lap, that means that there's a number of options out there. And we ride on board with Neville down into one of the more popular passing zones there into turn 1. We had a clean first corner for the most part. One car kind of slid off into the grass and maybe hit the wall a little bit on the inside, but we managed to survive it. I've seen plenty of other times in races I've called here, Michael, that wasn't the case. So, I mean, crossing fingers that they can keep up that trend.
Let's hope so. Like I said, you really want to be patient here, but honestly, it's very easy to get frustrated. So best laid plans of mice and men gone off to stray really kind of pops up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll watch Robert through the last little bit. There's a bit of camber there coming out of 9 onto that back straight, and that should help, but only if you get it nice and tucked in to that inside curb. So watch out for drivers who go wide to really lose out there. I do like Neville's paint. Very, very flannel, I will say.
Probably appropriate for West Virginia, because I'm guessing they're pretty chilly right now. So flannel, why not? Yeah, let's go for it.
Exactly. So 45 seconds left. Let's hope it'll keep him nice and toasty out there on track and warm on the podium if he can reach it come the end of this one. couple other drivers to watch out for, as we've mentioned, Lenny Holland looking really good. John Gibson as well. He sits third in this warm-up session. He's fourth in the points. Richard Woodruff was able to get himself a podium last time out at Donington Park. However, that was in the rain, whereas it is dry this time. There's Holland in that number 68, who has been just wicked fast in qualifying. The only driver amongst about 5 or so of them to break that 110 mark and get down to the 109. So that's it. Checkered flag is out. They're going to head off into the gridding, where it'll be a rolling start, and we all file down into that first corner. And unfortunately, Michael, with the cool morning conditions we've got here, they start that pace lap here, essentially, just before the final turn. So they're not going to have a lot of time to prep the car.
Yeah, there's going to be no heat in those tires. I'm a little bit scared to see what happens at turn 1. It's a very fast launch down the straightaway coming out of 10. And when you go for the brakes on really, really cool tires, not a lot happens. Your brakes are cold, your tires are cold, you're going to hit that pedal and it's going to be rock solid, and the brakes are just going to go, meh, maybe. After a couple of laps, they'll get warmed up. But I'm going to guess we're going to see a couple of people dragging brakes here to try to get some heat into them, but I don't know that that's strictly legal under the PCA rules.
Yeah, I'd have to check. I know they don't allow weaving because they don't want drivers to accidentally hit one another. Terrence Song with the Roxy paint, and here is his webcam. He's got a few cars ahead of him. We'll see whether or not he can make work of the 21 cars that's going to start in front of his as they now head off towards that pit entry. I mean, pretty much immediately that pace car is going to dive off. There it goes. And that's going to release Kevin Jokel and Lenny Holland on that front row. Now they have to wait for the call from the flag stand to go. It is not under control of the leader, other than he controls the pace speed from here. So we wait patiently for Barney to throw the signal. And he's holding it for a while. There it is. Green flag is out. Lenny Holland gets a pretty good jump, actually. Kevin Jokel does not. And behind them, it's a big run from Ben Leung. He might have an opportunity to try, but no, he does not want to take it 3 wide this early on. He knows how narrow it can be down into that first corner. In fact, he gets fed out a little bit in that yellow and black machine. He thankfully keeps it out of the grass. And look at that. We have a clean first corner.
Yeah, really interesting there on the start. I think there may have been a little bit of a jump because I saw our leader take it and then clearly let off, probably trying to anticipate that, or maybe I just was seeing things from my angle. But it looked like he kind of stuttered on that start. So we'll see what the race control has to say about that. I don't know if they detected anything at all, but here we are looking at our way through the little crazy part of this track. And one of the things we teach here is set the wheel and use the throttle to control where the car goes. It's a great teaching tool going through that 6, 7, 8 section right there. Wonderful teaching tool. I love this track because it has so many things to teach you. And here they come all the way down into turn 10. And we got one going wide, really wide out there. That would be, is that
Glenn, I think.
Glenn, I think that's Glenn. Yeah, that's Dave too. Yeah, David Glenn. Got a little bit wide out there. It's easy to do, especially if you catch the grass coming up into turn 10. So good first lap, though. Not a lot of stuff going on, a little argy-bargy door-to-door stuff, but honestly, you kind of expect that here. Meanwhile, we've got one car turned in turn 1, sitting right there. Yeah, look at that, waiting appropriately for his moment to come back out onto the track. I always appreciate it. That's Charlie Boyer there, when a driver who has spun and there's a lot of traffic coming by does the right thing and waits. You got to wait. You can't jump in there and mess up someone else's race.
They did a very good job on that one. And now they're back into the back half of the course once again through the carousel. And it is quite tight in here. I think we're looking at Dean Chapman around 21st position. He's chasing on Kim Fricke just in front of him. So there's still a little bit down the fields at this stage, but it's a long race. We're looking at close to 50 laps that they're going to be doing around this place. Andrew Elsom, oh no, locked him up and brought somebody with him. Didn't quite make out who that was. I think that was Hayosh, actually. And now John Gibson with another problem in the 911. So that's out of the final corner, it looked like.
Yeah, these GT3s, the GT3 Cup, I should say, they're a bit of a handful because there's no, there we go. That's that first incident on that first lap right there. But they're a bit of a handful. You don't have ABS. You don't have much in the way of traction control. And just the way you try to balance these cars out is a lot with the brake bias. And right there, it looks like a little bit too much rear bias for Charlie Boyer, as he was the car we saw earlier that was kind of parked on the outside of turn one.
Wow, this...
Oh, and more incident. Oh.
Yeah, that's the one we came in just at the end of, it looks like. John Gibson getting turned around, maybe had a little bit of help. And we had another, wow, there is just so many incidents we've had these first couple laps. This is a stark contrast to last night, where it was, for the most part, pretty clean. It wasn't completely clean. J.R. Gregory, wow, with a big hit coming out of Wagon Bend and actually finding the wall on that one. Looks like he'll be able to get the car going. Hopefully this gets cleaned up. We've only had, it looks like, 3 cars down pit lane with all the accidents. David Glenn, Andrew Elsom, and Peter Sigourney, and it looks like Sigourney might actually be out of this race. So we now hop on board with 13th place, make that 12th place, as Julian Velez is going to battle with Peter Coomer.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity now. We see everyone starting to, they're continuing to catch a little bit too much grass from time to time. But we're seeing the field start to spread out. We're getting very distinct packs of cars. We've got a big gap, about 2 seconds from our 8th place, David Fernandez, up to Robert LaCroix in 7th place. But that's a big pack up front. And then there's this big pack in the middle and another big pack from about 20th. So everybody's kind of settled into kind of what their pace is. And looks like Steve Komatz has gone around here too, out of the Rocky Mountain region. Fortunately, he's used to the mountainous areas like West Virginia.
Exactly. So he'll get it back on course, rocking the butterfly style steering wheel, interestingly, as he gets back on with a GT car, not something you see as frequently. In the meantime, we had one of our front runners have an issue. Mario Gonzalez just lost a bunch of positions. There he is right there in the 777. It looks like he didn't hit anything because the car seems to be clean, but he's lost a few spots on this lap and is now down 3. And here's what happened to Komatz, who mercifully slides out of the way.
Watch out for that entry there, Steve. Yeah, there he goes. He's waiting for everybody to come by and backing out of the way wisely. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, good to see him try to make that safe re-entry. They do hammer safety into these drivers, despite it being virtual, just time and time again. And Gonzalez clips the inside curb. I've noticed that there's definitely a few curbs that you got to watch out for here, Michael.
Yeah, turn 1 is one of the ones that will catch you out. You can run over 3, especially at the outside of 3, you can hit that one. 5, you can kind of graze it a bit. 6, you tend to want to stay away from. It's one of those higher built up ones to really keep people from trying to cut that and run over the grass. There's more time to be had at that 6, 7, 8 complex. If you just be really sensitive with your throttle, don't let it be overpowering. You've got to just find that right balance for the car. There we go, going down into turn 5, too wide. Nice racing there. And here we come up into turn 6, gets that nose in, and right there, this is what I'm talking about. Just manage that throttle, and slot it in right there at 7. You want to stay on the right side so you can go full throttle here and watch maybe a little bit of lift catch that inside curbing. That curbing is perfectly okay, but notice how they stayed off of it at turn 6. Now coming up here to turn 10, not a problem. You can catch this curbing. It's not that big, and you want to use all of that outside and make the most of it to try to get a little bit of a draft coming down here, which I don't know how much he's going to get today.
Doesn't look like enough, that's for sure. We saw last night that it didn't seem to give a lot to these cars without as much aero as you have on actual GT3 cars, and that makes it difficult. It also was very close last lap through that turn 6 sequence, almost getting to the back of Woodruff, so good thing Robert was able to get it woed up in time. In the meantime, Neville's trying to run away. Jonathan Fields has found the escape route on turn 1. And
trying to go down to the skid pad for a little while, do some testing.
Thankfully, he's able to get it turned around without much incident, and he also now has to wait. Eventually, I mean, they've got enough cars out here that we could get a little bit of a conveyor belt, and that'll be tough to try and rejoin once the leaders catch the tail end of the field.
Yeah, once this opens up a bit more, I expect our leaders, or our lead pack, that is, to pull away. So we've got 1 and 2. With Lenny and Kevin, they have a good jump out front. Lenny, Kevin, and Ben have a good jump out front. There's a 5-second gap back to Robert Neville. So Ben, Kevin, and Lenny are really holding on to that gap out front. Now, that second group, though, is there enough gap there if somebody spins and needs to come back around or work their way back into traffic once this spreads out a little more and someone else makes a mistake? That's going to be tough. That's awfully tight to try to bring a car back onto the track.
So coming up through Wagon Bend again, we've started to see Robert poke his nose more times, but can't seem to get anything done on Woodruff. He'll stay on the racing line down into yard sale this time around, but they're catching back up to Neville in front of them. So they're all kind of accordioning back together. And remember Mario Gonzalez and his incident? Well, he's caught up to the back of them as well.
Yeah, Mario still sitting back there in P7, but he's under a second off of Robert up there in front of him and turning some pretty good times. I think he's got a chance to make something out of this race. Difficult first couple of laps, but this is a long race. I mean, we're only 11 minutes or so into this race, 10 minutes or so into the race, about 50 minutes left. Plenty of time to make it up. And it just comes back to what I was saying before, patience. You gotta have patience at this track, and if he starts to exhibit some patience, which may have been lost early on, he has a really good chance of catching back up.
Now, usually in this series, they're extremely strict about any sort of car contact, and amazingly, they've ruled almost all of the incidents we saw as racing incidents, so no penalty for any of them, except for poor Andrew Elsom, who was black flagged for an incident in the orange zone. So on that first lap, they have an expectation that drivers will not cause any problems and are punished more harshly if they do in that orange zone. So it's just to try to keep them from being a little too crazy and ambitious on that first lap. How about this battle, though? 10th place with Peter Kummer up at the front. Adam Gerling with Julian Velez very close behind, along with Dale Green. And I asked whether or not Terrence Tong could start to catch up. He's already to 14th.
Wow, he is up 8 positions. That's one of our fastest climber, our highest climbers. Aaron Ambrosino is up 11 places, but 8 for Terrence. Man, he's really cooking, finding his way back up there. I think he just did not qualify well. Sounds like someone we know doesn't qualify well, but races well. Yeah, I think we know that guy.
You're the one that said it, not me. So,
oh, but you say it on every other race.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I beat you to it this time.
I get you on that one. Dale Green still trying to close up on Julian Velez before Terrence Tong gets to him. Let's check out Tong's onboard here, see what his hands are doing. Nice smooth motions down into turn 6 and then into 7. What about switching and changing directions now? Can he also keep it as steady through there? Looks pretty good to me, but it's not going to get him
a lot of that inside curve. Yeah, taking that inside curve like that, beautiful form, exactly what you want to do. Some people get afraid of that one. You don't need to be. You've got all that that curbing to the outside to kind of help you through that. So he's using the track like he should be, like someone who should be up in the top 5, not sitting down at 14 or so where he is now. Oh no, that's not good.
And it looks like this is going to allow maybe a driver to sneak through. Is that LaCroix? Yes, it is. He's trying to see if he can get by, but Richard Woodruff says no. Instead, it's David Fernandez in the orange and blue who manages to get a position in the chaos and move himself into 7th. They're going to go back to single file down through the chute.
That puts Richard Woodruff back at the front of that pack in that Brumos liveried Porsche. Coming back down here, now they're working through this really technical section. 6 coming into 7, make the pass back to the left side and try to just put your foot down through 8, and then the little kink for 9 coming up here. So there's normally right here at the bridge, so notice how they're all hanging left. When we teach people here, there's a straight line from the exit of 8 where 9 becomes nothing, and there's a banner that hangs up on the bridge there, and you find the letter you want that puts you in a straight line, so you're not making this long kind of arc, and it can easily take a 10th or 2 off your lap time if you do it properly. So you got to find the right letter, which there are none unfortunately here. So you got to find, I guess, the spot.
That's
is that a replay
yeah.
Or is that okay? That's a replay there. I was like, wait, it happened again.
This is what kicked it off, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a penalty coming out for Robert LaCroix. So he just kind of came into the back of Richard Woodruff as he was attempting to pass, knocked him back straight, but they don't often look the other way if there's no victim in these, because they still will try and dissuade drivers from ever coming into contact with one another. He's still on the attack, though, and is trying to get that spot away, hopefully before he can get punished.
Yeah, and it didn't really cost him any position, so I don't know if they'll give him any type of penalty there, because Woodruff did not lose any position. It was just a little love tap, maybe. Good racing. But hey, it looks like now we've got an opportunity. They are side by side coming into the braking zone. Later on the brakes, it looks like, for LaCroix, and he's able to sneak the car right back through. So he was able to take advantage of a little bit of that draft. These cars do not really draft well because they are so slippery. You get into the GT3R, where it has a lot more downforce and wider tires and all kinds of other stuff. They draft a whole lot better. These cars are so slippery. They actually run a higher top speed than the GT3R, which is considered to be the next class up. But these cars got some legs on them. They will get going down a straightaway, and boy, is it hard to catch them.
It is indeed, and that good exit, that little bit of slipstream helped him out. He's now up into 5th position as we come over the crest once again on the last little bit of the lap, braking downhill into the final corner at Paddock Bend. Still no takers for a scheduled pit stop, but we're only just getting into the opening of the pit window, so we're not expecting anybody quite yet. We watch from onboard Woodruff. His woes are not over already. David Fernandez is trying to attack, shows himself a little in the mirrors, but can't get the overlap down into the hairpin.
Yeah, he had a good little look-see there, but couldn't quite make anything of it. There just wasn't enough speed to get up underneath like LaCroix did earlier. So let's watch and see what happens here. Oh, a little bit slow. Looks like Woodruff didn't quite time the turn in for turn 3 just right. Now he's going to get past. Yep, Woodruff falling back. Fernandez moving up another position. Fernandez really moving here, up 10 positions so far. So Fernandez doing a nice job. Another case of someone didn't necessarily get a good qualifying, and now they're pushing their way through the field.
Yeah, checking, and his second lap was deleted. So, yeah, he only had 2 of the 3 bullets in the chamber for his qualifying time, as now the battle just keeps trickling backwards a little bit. It's gone to Mario Gonzalez versus Patrick Adamczyk, who are on board with. The Canadian driver is forcing him to go defensive down that narrow front stretch. They're picking up speed to nearly 160 miles an hour here before they finally break and slow it down for the first corner. He's instead under attack. You saw a little flash of the car. Julian Velez round the outside of the first corner, and he's going to actually get that done. That was brilliant stuff.
This is why I love this track. You have multiple attacks on every corner. You have multiple defenses on every corner. There's so much you can do, and it's the consummate teaching track. How much of a teaching track is it? There are 3-letter agencies out of Washington, D.C. and surrounding areas who teach their, I believe they call them janitors and gardeners. I'm not sure that's exactly right, but they bring them out to teach them how to drive.
Yeah, I've heard that the high-performance testing goes on there. And also, apologies, that was Peter Coomer, actually, that we saw make that pass. It is now Julian Velez that's on the attack instead. The black flag car of Patrick Adamczyk is under threat for the second time in as many laps coming down to the first corner. This time, he does not defend. He will hold his racing line, maybe thinking the outside will work a little bit better for him. And it does. He's able to outbrake his rival.
You get a little bit better traction out there, especially now. So we've gone through practice, we've gone through qualifying, and we're in the race. There's a lot more rubber down there on the line. If you're trying to pass someone from offline, you don't have a lot of rubber there. Well, you do, but it's all these little balled up pieces of rubber, and it makes it difficult to brake. So I think it was probably a smart idea to kind of hold off there from the attacking car, and that left a little bit of doubt in the mind of where to go. What can I do? Staying outside like that was the smart thing to do there. He didn't have enough overlap. He was threatening it, but it's a bit of that mind game of, hey, look, see how close I can get here, and maybe just trying to push a little bit for a mistake.
So back with Terrence Tong. And the 388, how far up is he now? He's in 14th, which actually this brings me to a good point. I was just kind of counting how far these cars go back, and I'll get back to that in a second because we're back on with this battle with Adamczyk to the outside once more, Velez to the inside. This time he's much deeper on the brakes. He's going to get it done anyways, inside or outside. He'll make it stick. That gives him 10th. But I was about to say, the front of this group goes up to Woodruff. He's in 7th, and then goes all the way back to 15th in this train. And you were talking about those trains earlier. It seems like there's a lot of drivers that are a bit stuck here.
It is difficult to pass with these cars because of the amount of power they have and the lack of drag. So trying to make that traditional pass of, all right, I'm going to come off the corner and I'm going to use your draft and beat you down the straightaway and catch you under braking into turn whatever, it doesn't work so well with these cars. They're just so gosh darn fast. And another way of trying to pass someone is to just get a better exit off of a corner, like we're going to watch these guys all try here. But look at that. They are in lockstep. They've practiced this. They know how to come through turn 10, and it really makes it difficult to make that turn 1 pass unless somebody makes a mistake. And that's really the only time you're going to see it. Now, there are a couple of other spots where you can take an alternative line, and we're going to watch and see how that plays out. We did see a couple earlier where it was a good technique of finding a little bit different line and being able to get a nose in to the right place. But I think the biggest thing we're going to see for passing, honestly, is somebody making a mistake at turn 10, going in a half a mile per hour too fast. Now, so right here, turn 5, this is another great spot. You really want to take turn 4 as fast as you possibly can. We call it the chute. And when you come through there, you end up all the way on that left side, and you have no opportunity to come back over. However, in the sim, I see a lot of people try to juke back over to the right side and then try to take the slowest corner on the track, or one of the slowest corners on the track, at an extra mile per hour. And look at this. Oh, this is a good opportunity here. Wow, he is really getting up inside there. I think he's got an opportunity this time. He is right up under the tail. He's looking right, coming on out. Is he gonna? Oh, looks like we've got a little bit of a defensive posture coming in there. Now looking towards the outside. Nope, gonna save it for another day. Again, that patience coming, but notice that pressure he is putting on there. Really good pressure to try to get him to question how he's going to defend this next time.
Before that pressure boils over, just want to mention Charlie Mobile once again. They're your ticket to staying connected at full throttle. With lightning fast 5G speeds and unlimited data, talk, and text, they're the wireless service for those who live life in the fast lane. Whether you're tracking lap times or sharing your latest victory with fellow Porsche fans, Charlie Mobile has you covered with zero hidden fees or contracts. Plus, they're proud to give back, donating to causes that matter both locally and beyond. Ready to join a wireless service that goes the extra mile? Switch to Charlie Mobile and experience the difference on and off the track. This definitely has been a pressure cooker, but now Peter Kummer has Richard Woodruff even closer in front of him. We're going to watch from Terrence Tong a little bit farther back. In the meantime, you can just about see them farther up the road ahead of him. Terrence now up still 8 positions, so hasn't really gained any since then. Here we go, and from defense to attack for Peter Kummer. He's down to the inside, just no dice this time. He makes sure to hug that inside line. He does not want to let Julian Velez cut underneath him.
So Peter was able to open up a little bit of a gap on Velez, but his attempt to attack on Woodruff brought Velez right back into the game here. So watch as these guys come through. There was a little bit of an overlap there. That may have been a mistake from Kummer. I think Kummer should have probably just lifted a little bit. That put him in a bad position. Now Velez is coming right back up. I feel like Kummer has better speed than Woodruff. Woodruff just has position right now, and he's driving a very nice, clean defensive line. He's not making multiple moves. He's not moving in response, but he's making good, clean decisions. And coming off, like right there, he came out of turn 8, going through 9. Very nice, very clean, very smooth. That's exactly what he needs to do. But Kummer, man, puts that power down, although it looks like Velez actually has a little bit better grasp of power here, putting the nose out there, I think a little bit too early. But again, he's trying to put questions in the mind. Now, look at that. It puts Kummer a little bit offline, and now he is all over him. He's going to try to get up in there for turn 3. We just came through 2. Let's see if he can put that pressure on right here. He's got an opportunity coming up into 5. So if he runs through the chute and is able to get up side by side, there is a great opportunity. But he is just a little bit too far away from my guess. Look at that. Oh, nice under braking. Wow, does he close that up? That's some really tight driving from these guys.
They all got extremely close to one another in front of them. Woodruff nearly had a bit of contact with them off screen, but thankfully they all managed to keep off of each other's bumpers. But I'm impressed with what we're seeing out of Velez. He is really laying it on thick here to try and get Kummer to make a mistake. And he's been close. He's been getting him into good positions, just can't seem to finish the job. Is this the opportunity where he can make it happen, Michael? Because it's another good run.
Well, notice he popped out early there. I think he's waiting. So he pops out to get a little bit more drag. Now look at that. If we see this side-by-side action, can he capitalize on this? This is an opportunity where you've got a driver offline who's still got some good speed. He's still out in front. He's got about a half a car length. Get that nose up under there. And oh no, Julian Velez looking to follow Woodruff through, hoping Woodruff would make that aggressive move and try to hold on to the position. Did not. And that allowed Mario Gonzalez to slide his car right on through on the outside of turn 3.
It was Kummer. Oh, in the meantime, some contact between Woodruff and Velez coming through turn 6. So maybe the impatience starting to show as he almost gets into the back of him again. He is tired of waiting. He wants through. And don't worry, that dent on the back of Woodruff was already there, but it's certainly not making it any less. Oh, he wants to pit in and tried to, but almost ran a car off the track. That was Patrick Adamczyk, who is going to make the corner, but he's going to be severely hampered. And there you go, into pit lane for Richard Woodruff. But he's got, oh, that explains it. He's got a black flag for a drive-through penalty, I think, for too many incident points.
Could be. Those little dimples on the back of his car are not by design from Porsche. They are by design from the people who are behind him. I find it interesting that with that little bit of pushed-in bodywork on the rear end of that car, that he was able to go so fast down the straightaways. A lot of times we find, especially in the sim, it will kind of increase the drag and make it more difficult for you to get those top speeds you were once getting.
Man, that's not a good sign if you're hitting that incident limit before we hit halfway here, because they actually have a DQ at 25 incidents. It's 17 for that first drive-through. So he's dangerously close if he keeps the rate up of his incident points to being out of this race.
So an interesting thing that could happen here is if he is able to get some fuel in that car to run it to the end, maybe with even a little bit of lift and coast, he could kind of recover some position. It just depends on how that goes. I don't know that he's going to be able to do much with it. They're looking at like a 60% maximum fuel. That's kind of halfway. So I think there is a reasonable argument that he could turn that into something.
Well, he can pit now, but he has already served his penalty, and you're not allowed to stop in your pit box if you're serving a drive-through. So that would just extend the penalty. But yes, he could come in and easily get to the end from here. They can go till about 13 to 15 minutes left on the clock as we get some side-by-side action. Jeremy Hall down here in 18th through the chute. Anybody going to give way? It looks like it is going to be his rival, John Gibson, who has to give up the ghost. So the 060 moves up to 18th, and Gibson running the number everybody wants in this series, the 911.
There you go. It's an iconic number in the series. Whoever gets it first is always the, well, I would say hero, but some other people may have a different name for it. I think he was the lucky one who got in there early. Now, notice when they went through the chute that he had to kind of come back over to the right. That was to stay out of the tail of the car in front of him. He did the right thing there. It's unusual to want to pull the car back over the right, but notice how much it cost him early on. Now watch him here back over to the left side. Now they are going to go too wide through one. That is tight up on that curb. Now if he can get that power down and just push it through turn two, he is in the right spot. He is just got the lead on him, got that pass back, and tries to push it through turn three. Let's see if he gets out into the kitty litter here. Nope, right up to the edge of it. Now we're coming back up to the chute. Now there's normally a box right there. When we're out there, well, actually it's not there anymore. In this version of the track though, there was a box that was out there that you knew what your turn-in point was. And I don't mean like a shipping box. It was painted on the ground. And we would use that as a focus point for people coming through turn three. Once you make that kind of juke back over to the left, you would see where that box was, and if you turned in there, depending on the car, you could probably go through the chute without a lift.
Wow.
Which I can tell you from experience is very exciting depending on the car.
I was just about to say, I think it would take me a while before I was brave enough to do that in most cars, but these drivers don't have to worry about life and limb, thankfully, and nice move from John Gibson. That'll get him up into 17th. Oh no, Kim Fricke off the course. That's with Adam Gerling off in the grass that you see, and he might lose another position because Chris Sherburne and Dean Chapman are at speed, coming up behind very quickly, but they run out of straightaway.
Yeah, there was an opportunity there that just, they didn't go far enough off of turn one for that to turn into anything. Taking a look at the replay, gets up the inside, locks up that inside tire. Good presence, though, looking at the 248 there, was able to make sure, so Adam Gerling made sure that he, even though he was in the right, didn't let an incident, that didn't let the approaching car that locked up that wheel take him out. You don't want to be taken out, especially when you see it coming.
Yeah, one case where mirror driving actually did help him, I guess. But it unfortunately did not prevent him from going off track, having to take that avoiding action. Meanwhile, Sherburne behind Gerling also has to do with Chapman. 3 cars in a fight for 14th place here. He'll show himself down to the inside. Sherburne's going to try and outbrake him. Will he be able to keep from running to the side of his rival? Yes. And Gerling does not have to go off course this time. However, it'll be a 2-for-1 deal, and Gerling gets mugged by Dean Chapman, who's not completely done until here.
Yeah, there we go. Able to get around there again, but watch for the pass back right here going into the chute. setting the car up properly. Now, notice that was interesting. I just saw him go wide to the right there. It's a very unusual way to take that corner. It does cost you time, and I don't know if he hasn't realized it or if he's been told to try it that way. Maybe something was going on, the car was unstable. But that's 2 or 3 times that I've noticed that one car right there. I don't see which car it is, but he was going too wide to the right to try to go through turn 5.
Yeah, it seems to be a more common line here in the sim. And down into the braking of turn 1, it's back to the battle between Velez and Coomer. These two have just been locked together since very early stages of this race, with Coomer having the upper hand right now. He's in the blue machine with the yellow and black belonging to Velez past the halfway point, and still not expecting we'll see either of them try and pit here quite yet. Usually they're going to try and go as long as possible so that they don't get caught up in the traffic, but he's not shy getting close to the rear bumper of the car ahead. We've already saw that earlier for Velez.
They've been racing together long enough, even in just this race. Even if they'd never raced each other before, they've been nose to tail quite a bit in this race. They have good pace, almost identical pace through there. So I would be just as comfortable as Velez is sticking up to the rear bumper of Coomer going through that sector. I think he's trying to just stay as close as he can and find that spot, find that moment of lack of patience, or maybe loses concentration a little bit and is able to jump out around behind him or up the inside somewhere.
Didn't quite give him the chance in turn 1 that time, which is surprising. He was very close to the back of him, but I guess didn't feel like he could outbrake him through the corner. You could see all the dust that they kick up getting close to that gravel on the exit of 3 at Wagon Wheel. But it hasn't thrown anybody off sliding from the sand all spread about quite yet. It'll continue to build throughout the race, unfortunately for them. And this is where he seems to be strongest in comparison. It seems through this, this little technical section, he gets right on top of him, but it's just so hard to pass there. I don't know what he can do with it.
Well, you can get into the mind of the person in front of you, and he's able to see that if he pushes him strong enough, if he pushes him hard enough, that's going to question, what happens if he gets around me? He's totally going to pass me there. And now we've got a good opportunity. Little bit of a pinch down. Ooh, this is going to be close as they come up into turn 1. That inside line, though, got to get on the brakes early. He is still just playing a little bit of a mind game here, but watch, see how much it's opened up there? Now, 2 very different lines through 2, and then they're going to come up to 3. They're going to just come right back together though when they get down to 5, because they just take it a different way. A good push through 3 right there, and coming back here to Scott Bowers. Missed that braking zone out into the kitty litter, but fortunately he's able to recover it, bring it back on. By the way, supporting another very Porsche number, the 917.
Yes, absolutely. And while his car says, "Can you dig it?" on the back, thankfully he did not have to dig himself out of that gravel, at least from what iRacing's done yet. I still hope that maybe someday you can get trapped there, but they've not implicated it yet. Anyways, we come back to the battle for 17th. We've had a couple drivers pit. Andy Jenks has been in. Scott Bowers has pitted. And Chris Sherburne, as well as J.R. Gregory. Still a lot of drivers that need to come in. This run between Hall, Boyer, and Woodruff, kind of including a few drivers who've had some drama here today, I'd say. We know that Woodruff has been in the action and unfortunately had to serve a penalty. Just in front of them, side by side with John Gibson, trying to overtake on Gerling. He is going to make that one work. Gerling can't hold him back.
Yeah, Gerling's got a much better run, though, coming through 1 around 2. Let's see what happens as they come through 3 here. Setting up for the corner, a little bit of a lift, and back on the power before the apex. Push it all the way out to the edge. They are running dangerously close to that kitty litter out there. Now, going through the chute, watch what happens here. You've got both of them going wide right. I'm just surprised to see that. Just personal testing, when I've driven this car in the sim at this track, it's always faster to really push hard through the chute, through turn 4, and get up on the inside there. It has always been faster for every test lap I've ever done here.
I'll have to remember that, because I usually go off to the right, so maybe that's my problem. But
yeah, go a little faster through 4, and yeah, you won't be able to pull back over to the right. The car just is not going to let you. Now look at this. Look how close they are again. He is really sucked right up on the tail of him right at that point. This is a really interesting study in who's faster where. Because if we look at these guys as they're coming through 4, yeah, see, that was the right line that he's holding right there, coming up through turn 4 and into 5. Now, that time they went wide, so that previous replay, they were kind of out. But here we go. Let's watch as they try to tuck up under here. I just think he's got a little bit better line coming through there. Velez has a little bit better line coming through that section. This goes back to that mind game he's trying to play. So watch when they come out here. I bet he's going to put his nose out again coming down into 1. He wants a mistake. That's what he wants. He wants Coomer to make a mistake. Now, Coomer is not prone to mistakes, except he went really wide off the apex there. This gives Velez a really good opportunity now. Now, see how he's kind of protecting that middle line. Makes it difficult to go either right or left. You don't really know where you can place the car, but it cost him a lot of position. Now, this time, they are much closer. Last time, there were probably 2 car lengths between them. Now you can barely fit a car between them.
But it's still a slightly better run for Peter. And it's so hard to pass into turn 3. That is going to cost Julian Velez. He drops back once again. That gives us an opportunity to mention Charlie Mobile, your ticket to staying connected at full throttle. With lightning fast 5G speeds and unlimited data, talk, and text, they're the wireless service for those who live life in the fast lane. Whether you're tracking lap times or sharing your latest victory with fellow Porsche fans, Charlie Mobile has you covered with 0 hidden fees or contracts. Plus, they're proud to give back, donating to causes that matter both locally and beyond. Ready to join a wireless service that goes the extra mile? Switch to Charlie Mobile and experience the difference on and off the track. On the track, Julian Velez cannot seem to get by Peter Coomer. When will he try and duck into pit lane? Because we've had a few more drivers in to pit. It looks like Andy Jenks and David Glenn have both come down pit lane. Jeremy Hall has pitted. Chris Sherburne just recently pitted. Now Kim Fricke is joining them. So again, a few of the drivers closer to the back of the field, willing to try and take a bit of a risk and pit in. And of course, they might also be getting caught by the leaders. Let me check and see. No, it doesn't look like they were getting caught by the leaders. So that was just a call to try and do something a little different and not try and avoid traffic, as that was a lot of curb that time from Velez through 4.
Yeah, he did that like I would have coached someone to go through there. And look at this. Wow, he is so much closer this time. I think he might have gotten a little wheel spin, though, coming out of 6. But I think he's going to really close this back up, coming through 7, around 8, looking for the kink at 9. And then he's got an opportunity here. He has been able to come through turn 10 the last couple of times about 4 kilometers an hour faster. He opened up that gap a little bit. Look at this. Look at this. Wow, he is right up on the tail, going a little bit defensive, gets up underneath on the inside. There is some overlap now. He is overlapped. He's side by side, mirror to mirror into the brakes. Coming into turn 1, oh, this is nobody's corner right here. Who's going to be able to put the power down faster? Right now, it looks like Coomer has got the power down a little bit better than Velez was able to get there. But, wow, is the pressure on now? We thought it was pressure before. Right now, I do not want to be Peter Coomer. He is definitely definitely sweating.
Well, he's doing a magnificent job, and he seems to be extremely good on the brakes. This is an open setup series. We'll get to the fixed setup series next week for the slower classes. And it kind of makes me wonder if maybe Peter has set this car up to just be really good getting on the binders.
Well, the brake balance of this car is oddly back. When you set these cars up in the sim, you really push that brake bias way back. You're looking at about 45 maybe 43 to the front, so that the rest goes to the rear. That's a lot. Typically you're looking at 51, 52, but in this particular car, it runs pretty far back, which allows a huge amount of rotation under trail braking. And I think that's where a lot of people come up with their opportunities to make the car fast. If you can control that brake bias, and also you can change the brake bias by corner. So while you're racing along, turn 1, you want a different brake bias than you might for 5. 5, you're probably going to want it to be a little bit more than you would on turn 1. So a little bit more to the rear, I should say, than you would on turn 1. And it can be a vast difference with a 0.5%, 1%. You'd be surprised at how much of a difference it makes. And looks like our leader is in the pits right now, getting his fuel to hopefully get him to the end of the race.
He was leading around 5 seconds over second place. I know we haven't shown Lenny, but that's because nothing's really been happening. First, second, and third were still as they started this race. It was interesting seeing Velez decide to finally jump off and try and do the undercut and see if that will work. And Peter Coomer is going to pit the next lap. He's wise to it. He's not going to let him pull any tricks here. So here is Velez. What's it going to look like as he exits? Here comes Peter out of pit lane. Velez out of the final corner. Remember, he's got to get up to speed. I don't think this is going to work out for Peter. No, he is too far gone. There goes Julian Velez. And the pit stop time was about a second difference between them. That made the difference.
Yep, because it's about a second between them now, except, it looks like Coomer went in a little bit hot there, missed the apex of turn 1. That's going to open that gap up just a bit more. Now, Coomer looked like he was faster through the first sector coming up to around turn 3, maybe even turn 4. When we got to 5, up through 6, 7, 8, it looked like it really swung the other way towards Velez. If Velez can really capitalize right here on opening this gap up, it's going to put a doubt into Coomer's mind. But Coomer, I think, is going to play this pretty smart. He knows he's faster going through 9 and 10 all the way up to 1. So largely half the track, he is faster. So I think if he remembers that, he'll be able to close this back up on Velez. But I think Velez is just happy that the undercut worked this time.
Yeah, extremely happy after spending so long glued to that bumper. Next car up going to be David Glenn, but I'm not sure if he owes us a pit stop because he pitted 36 laps ago. That might be on the limit, as Robert LaCroix has pitted, and so have the drivers behind him, David Fernandez and Mario Gonzalez. So 3-car train all fighting for 8th, but it's likely to be at least a couple positions higher because we still need Neville, Tong, Gibson, and Chapman all to take a pit stop, and they're ahead of these cars. And in fact, Robert Neville is in pit lane right now.
Yeah, Ben Lung is in a really good position. He's P4 right now with about 4.5 seconds in front of him up to Terrence Tong, who is also just now going into the pits. So that looks like he's got about a 10-second gap to Robert. So Robert is up there, and looks like Lenny has found his way back to the top of our tree here, back into first place with a sizable gap of just over 12 seconds.
And the only driver that still needs to stop, as that was a big look by Fernandez to try and take what is now the 6th position there. I was going to say the only driver that still needs to stop is Dean Chapman. So I'm guessing maybe on the next lap around we'll see that 610 car give way, which will make this a battle for a top 5 amongst our 3 protagonists. Down into the braking of turn 5, we're going to step away over to this fight with Terrence Tong. He's now up to 12th position. He's sandwiched between Dale Green and Andy Jenks. None of them are going to change spots into the corner this time.
Yeah, Terrence trying to put a little pressure on here. He's got pressure from behind from Jenks, but I think he's more or less ignoring that and really hyper-focused on getting past Dale Green. Dale's been putting some pretty good lap times in there. Terrence, just fresh out of the pits, wants to not look directly into the sun. Boy, that was a bright halo coming off the sun there. But focusing front and really wants to do the right millimeter perfect turn in there to get down the straightaway here. But it looks like his mirrors are getting filled. Andy Jinks, Dale Green was able to open that up very nicely through there. Maybe Terrence just having a little bit of trying to feel the car out again, because it is heavier than it was. They've added the fuel back in, so he had to refill to get to the end. So the car's a little bit heavier than what he was racing just prior to this. So give him a little bit of a break, see if he can catch back up here.
Sounds like we had another peril that we hadn't discussed here that I'm sure also can sometimes happen in real life. The 407 car, Patrick Adamczyk, if you noticed, he suddenly is down the timing sheet. He got stuck on one of those hills. Do we have it here? Oh no, it was trying to drive back too. Oh no.
Oh no. Oh.
High center.
Yeah. I've seen that happen dozens of times in real life. It is a frustrating thing. You're like, oh, well, I don't want to back onto the track. That would be bad. So let me see if I can spin the car around here. And, well, you end up getting high centered. And that's not good for anybody.
That's a real shame for his day to wind up that way. He will be allowed to get back on the track if he wants, but I haven't seen him return quite yet. Meanwhile, battle between Tong's Rexy and the number 23 of Jenks will stay as they were. They're each up one position because of the pit stop that Dean Chapman finally gave us back. So this is for essentially now a top 10 if you count Dale Green in this group. And actually, when did they catch Peter Coomer? Did Coomer have an issue?
Coomer may have had an issue. There's a 2.5 second gap between him and Julian Velez now. When he came out of the pits, remember, it was only a second. And, oh, that was interesting there. I saw somebody go wide behind Terrence Tong. And yeah, so I think Andy Jinks was trying to follow Terrence Tong. Terrence got jammed up by the car in front of him. And that, I believe, caused a little bit of panic brake, which put Andy Jinks out to the outside. Let's take a look at this right here. Yeah, it just got a little overslowed, not ready for that corner. And yeah, that put a gap there.
Fernandez instead on the defense. He was on the attack before. He'll be able to hold on to it. This is the battle for P5. So I went and checked, by the way, and Peter Coomer, it does not look like had any serious issues. I think just the pace, unfortunately, not there for him now that he's lost touch with Velez, and he's been dropping off bit by bit. So we'll check on that in a little bit of time. While this is fun, though, let's keep our eyes on Robert, David, and Mario with 10 minutes now left to go on the clock. You haven't missed anything up at the front other than a change for second and third. Leung and Jokel have swapped spots in the pit stop.
Yeah, pit strategy is going to be important here. How do you decide when to take your pit? We saw a beautiful execution of that with Velez. He knew that the only way was that undercut. He was having too much trouble getting around because of where Coomer was faster. Where Velez was faster, he just couldn't make it work. But now that he got that undercut, he is back out. Now, meanwhile, coming back to, looks like David Fernandez here, closing up on LaCroix. That's a good defense. LaCroix is able to get the power down. When you're stuck to the outside there, as long as you apply the throttle properly, gracefully, you can't just smash the gas, because then you're going to get rear wheel spin and you've lost the corner. But there we go, going through the chute, holds up to that inside, both of them right there. Ooh, trying to get the nose in for the short run down to turn 6, still holding the inside. Robert is not letting him through. So looks like Robert is holding Fernandez back, able to hold onto that position there. Fernandez very seriously on the attack, and who's behind them? Our old friend Mario Gomez. Yeah. Or sorry, Gonzalez, not Gomez, different person.
But
Mario G.
Yeah. And David Fernandez getting creative, but I kind of wonder if he's making himself vulnerable as well. I worried with him trying to go around the outside of 6 there that Mario would try to get underneath him and be able to take that spot away. We'll see if he does it again here when they come back around. It's not quite close enough as they sit currently, but you never know if he feels like he can get a little bit of a better run out of turn 5. Oh, he's looking good up through 3 as he closes in on that green and black car. What about 4 and 5 now?
Yep, we're coming through 4. I'm wondering, is Fernandez from Potomac region? Possibly, because Potomac does a lot of racing here, and I know it very well. That's the region I was in. So before I moved to Texas, but he is taking an absolute textbook line through everything. I've watched him for a couple of laps now. He does not falter. He does not vary. He does what the book says to do through here, and how we teach what the fastest line is. So I think he might be at least something from around this West Virginia area, possibly. I forget what the one up in Pennsylvania is called, but we used to do some events where we mixed both Potomac and that group.
Yeah, he's hailing from Club New York, I'm seeing on iRacing itself. I'm not sure if our producer could give us the region from PCA that he's got on our little lower thirds here, because that might be slightly different. I'm not sure, but that might help clue us in. Right now, he's still just stuck between Robert LaCroix and Mario Gonzalez with not that many laps left to go. He's going to have to try and make something work here pretty soon. He's not trying to get the car side by side through 5 and 6, at least for now. It says RaceSpot region. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. RaceSpot, I believe, is like Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Okay, so you might
right up in that area. So he knows the track. Look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, almost gives him a little love tap going up into 10. That's an aggressive move, and it works too. It beautifully worked. He got Robert LaCroix to go wide at turn 10, allows him to get up underneath him and fully side by side and past before the braking zone of turn 1. Now he's going to have to stay offline there because he does need to defend. We've got Mario Gonzalez trying to close up in there, but LaCroix is way outside. He's going to lose 1 position, I think, as long as he's got the power here, and it looks like he does. He slots right back in between them. Now, can Robert get that position back? Where was Robert faster? I think it was really looks like a good attempt there. Nice try to come back around as they go up into the chute. Now look at that. Look at that positioning. That is absolute textbook positioning there. That is exactly what I would have taught him to do had he come to me for coaching. That is how you do that sector.
Rob was looking ambitious there down into the chute, but backed out of it mercifully. I don't think that would have ended well for both of them. And you talked about at the start of this broadcast, patience being so important. I'll tell you what else paid off is perseverance. I mean, David was working on that one for a while, as that time it's going to be Mario Gonzalez who goes a little bit wide off the final corner.
Yeah, patience does lead into perseverance. If you just sit there and you're patient and you wait and you pressure. So I've often talked, about the 3 Ps. The first of those is patience. And when you get it, you get to the 3rd P, which is pestering. And that is exactly what has happened to Robert here. Robert just got too much attention on his mirrors. We've watched him race before where that didn't happen. Maybe it's just something about this track. Maybe it's he got a Coke instead of a Pepsi. I don't know. Something took him off and he wasn't able to quite focus properly. And boy, has that really paid off in spades for Fernandez and Gonzalez.
It's such a shame because he had gained a couple positions from where he started. He's back to where he began, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but he was looking at a good finish, even if he had fallen behind Gonzalez. Now we get some more fun farther down in the field, around 18th or so. Jeremy Hall side by side with Charlie Boyer. Are they going to actually go through side by side through 4? They are, and Charlie plays that game of chicken, and they both lose as they wind up out in the field. And it is Woodruff, Sherburne, and Adamczyk that pick up the pieces.
Yeah, Jeremy Hall looks like he is stuck high centered out there. Rear wheels just spinning away. He's going to have to reset into the pits, which he does. So bummer for Jeremy Hall there. Yeah, that looked like a little bit of a lockup. I think a little maybe missing your braking point. Hard to say for sure. Oh, yeah, that was an odd little twitch from the car.
It's got loose, I think.
Yeah, another reason you don't want to be out there to the right. If we watch our friends from Potomac and Rensport, they hug up to the left there going into turn 5. Everybody else, or not everybody, but many people tend to go out to the right. You don't have a lot of runoff out there, and that's where all the marbles are. You can't get the car out there and hope to brake in a straight line.
Terrence Song with our hardest chargers so far, up 12 positions. David Fernandez is up 11, and Dean Chapman is up 11. So he might have some competition if we get some late passes in this race. Terrence could still get one more. That's Dale Green that you see in front of him. That'll be for P9, but he's going to have to get a little closer than this.
Terrence has been working on this pass for quite a while. Hasn't been able to quite make it work just yet. And we're taking a look at this replay here as he gets down. He's on brakes right now, and a little bit of a lockup, or close to a lockup on that left front, and that's what did it. So he was right on the edge of braking, trying to hold that car in position. But like I said, the marbles out there do not allow you to do that. You've got to be where the other car that got hit was. That's the right place to be, because that's where the traction is at that point of the track.
Credit to our producer for a brilliant angle on the second look there for us to analyze what exactly had happened. Meantime, the 333 of Peter Coomer is just ahead of Andy Jenks. Now we're watching Peter ahead of a couple of these cars. I think he must have lost a few more positions. Green has gotten by, Tong has gotten by. Will there be another one that will slip through his fingers? Peter's actually up 7 from where he started. So maybe it was a case of he managed to survive while others fell by the wayside, and now they're finally caught up to him at the end of the race.
And looks like Jenks is trying to make a really good push here. He has got the speed down the straightaway, puts his nose out. Can he outbrake him? Nope, decides to wait for another day here. Gets back onto that outside. Now puts the power down. He is really close here. He has got an opportunity. Oh, I was going to say he has an opportunity in 3, but I think there may have been a little bit of wheel spin there. Going into 3... I think Andy Jenks is a little bit quicker going through that corner. I think it looks to me like Peter's slowing down a little bit too much for turn 3.
I wonder if he's a little shy on fuel. If he maybe cut it a bit too tight here. He's close to the end, so if he can make it just this one more lap, once they get to the start-finish line, he's good to go, because white flag is out for the 68 of Lenny Holland, and he'll lead them around. His gap has grown immensely, much bigger than what we saw yesterday. 14 seconds over P2 Ben Leung. It's been just a clinical day for the 68 car.
Yeah, he's been sticking it out front there. He's got a 15-second lead at this point. He's just been running solid, low 1 minute 10 time. So 1:10.2, 1:10.4. He's just kind of been a metronome here. All the way from the Peach State region. So you would think he'd be a little more comfortable at a place like Road Atlanta, but this track is not that different from Road Atlanta.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit more narrow and not quite as hilly, but doesn't matter, because this country road is taking Lenny Holland home to victory lane here for the club class in PCA Series 12. Just a great race from Lenny. Ben Leung going to be our next one to cross the line, and we have to wait a little bit. He's just now coming out of the final corner, and he'll take that P2 ahead of Kevin Jokel. And this is Mario Gonzalez. Managed to eventually get his way back into 6, but he lost 2 from where he started. So maybe a day of what could have been for the 777.
Yeah, meanwhile, behind him, Julian Velez coming across start finish. Looks like Robert and Dale having a little bit of a gap there. Terrence Tong hoping he can make up that next position. Here we are looking at P14, Dean Chapman, up 11 positions today. Good job for Dean. 11 positions is quite a feat, especially at this track.
Chris Sherburne, last one on the lead lap. Can he manage to no longer be that? No, doesn't get the run he needs off that final corner. And that'll be 19 cars that complete all 51 laps here today. Which takes us to our results, where Lenny Holland is your victor, and Ben Leung will wind up P2, some distance behind him. Kevin Jokel with an excellent podium today over Robert Neville with a quiet fourth. David Fernandez in the midst of the action much of this race and gaining 11 spots from 16th to 5th. Mario Gonzalez was P6 with Julian Velez winding up 7th. Robert LaCroix was 8th after he started there. Dale Green will finish P9, and as we followed, Terrence Tong with the most positions of anybody into 12th, Michael. Up 12 into 10th, rather.
Yeah, P11, Peter Comer, a large part of our broadcast today. Really wonderful racing from him. Andy Jinks right behind him, not that far, only about a second. John Gibson in P13. Dean Chapman, also a good runner here today. P14, Adam Gerling. Kim Fricke in 16th. David T. Glenn, 17th. Richard Woodruff, also one of those that caught a lot of attention here in the broadcast. Nice driving. Had to get a spare car there at the end, or somewhere in the middle there. Chris Sherburne in 19th. J.R. Gregory will be P20.
21st will go to Scott Bowers with Aaron Ambrosino in 22nd. Then it's Charlie Boyer in 23rd. He did get a penalty for that little contact that we saw. Steve Komatz was 24th, and Patrick Adamczyk was 25th. He did get back out on track. Then we get to cars that were 2 laps down or more with Jeremy Hall. Ward Preston was 16 laps down, and from there it is DNFs. The last of our 31 cars with Peter Sigourney, a DNS today. One last time, we want to give a quick mention to Charlie Mobile, because they're your ticket to staying connected at full throttle with lightning fast 5G speeds and unlimited data, talk, and text. They're the wireless service for those who live life in the fast lane. Whether you're tracking lap times or sharing your latest victory with fellow Porsche fans, Charlie Mobile has you covered with 0 hidden fees or contracts. Plus, they're proud to give back, donating to causes that matter, both locally and beyond. Ready to join a wireless service that goes the extra mile? Switch to Charlie Mobile and experience the difference on and off the track. Looks like we'll get to talk to Lenny Holland here, so let's have a chat with the 68 driver and see how he felt about this one, if there were any dramas that we may have missed out there. Lenny, congratulations on the win. It seemed like it was pretty well under control from our perspective. Was that the case behind the wheel as well?
Yeah, it was a fun race. Not sure if something happened behind me or not, but I like these little tight tracks, so it kind of suited me.
Looks like you had the fastest lap as well out there, so just a quick car all around. What were you expecting today? Did it kind of go as you thought it would with both traffic and the racing in general? Because there was quite a bit of drama behind you, but it was all smooth sailing for you up front.
Yeah, no, I'm so thankful I was out front, because I didn't want to be in a pack on this track. Super tight, hard to stay off each other. So, kudos to all the guys who made it. Who second was Ben, and Kevin third. So I don't know what happened back there, but good driving on everybody's part.
We talked a lot about how this is a very narrow track. It can be tough to pass here. Next week, it's not as narrow, but it's definitely punishing if you go beyond the boundaries. How are you feeling about Bathurst?
Well, we're going to see. I've never run that course, so I guess we're going to find out.
Oof, you're in for a doozy, sir. So better get practicing, but congratulations.
Thank you. I want to thank Matrix Motorsports and all the guys that helped me over there. And Charlie Mobile for sponsoring us and having you guys out and advertising the race. So we really appreciate that. And all the guys at PCA for everything they do.
That was Lenny Holland, your victor here today in the club class, and he'll be followed up by our second place finisher, Ben Leung. Looks like Michael has caught up with him.
Indeed, I have been. Welcome to the booth. Nice result, up one position from where you started, P2. How difficult was it for you to get into that P2 slot? It looked like you had a good challenge there from Kevin, but you were able to eventually get around him and hold on to that spot.
Yeah, it was a tough race. I mean, we ran very similar pace, so I was half a second behind him pretty much the first half of the race, and then I was just waiting for him to make a mistake, but he drove perfectly. I got very lucky. I think when I came out of pit, he didn't disengage his pit limiter fast enough, so I snuck by him there, and then we ran the rest of the race with me in front of him.
So was there any part of the track where you felt like you were faster, and maybe somewhere it looked like he was faster, or was it just the same pace through the whole lap?
Oh, yeah, I'm a little faster, I think, than him in the middle sector, but he's definitely faster than me going into turn one. So yeah, it evened out, so he would catch up and close the gap there, and then I pull away a little bit, and then just repeat lap after lap.
So how was the race for you overall? Did it result the way you kind of expected? Did you think Lenny would be able to take off and go out as far out front as he would, and you would just have that race? Or did you feel like you were going to come into a really tight 3, 4, 5-way battle?
Well, I think even in practice, Lenny's time was way faster than everyone else. So we kind of knew he was going to just take off on us. So it was just kind of between Kevin and I, just to see who could stay on the podium.
So, well, looks like you both made it to the podium. He came in third, you came in second. So a really good race all around. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, I want to thank everybody at PCA. You know, these races are really fun, and all my friends at the Upper Canada region of the PCA. So, you know, it's great to have a lot of participation from our chapter. So that's good.
Cool. Well, that was your second place finisher, Ben Lung. Next, I believe we've got Kevin Jokel, and Joe Peak has caught up to him.
Indeed, third place finisher Kevin. Ben was telling us that he believed it was a problem with a pit limiter that allowed you guys to trade spot. Was that correct?
Oh yeah, Joe. I fumble fingered the pit limiter, so kind of a rookie mistake there. But I was really focused. Ben and I were leaving the pits at exactly the same time, and I think I was so focused on making sure that I didn't run into him that I failed to release the pit limiter.
It's understandable in the heat of the moment. Do you find that is this a series that's still kind of getting you accustomed to pit stops, or is that something you're pretty used to by this stage?
I don't think I'm used to anything. This is my first season at club, so and I started with PCA I think about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So I'm still learning as fast as I can.
Well, I mean, you're in the second highest of the classes, and you're on the podium. So I'd say you're doing pretty good as a student. I mean, how would you rate yourself? What grade would you give your performance so far in Series 12?
I don't want to grade myself, but let's just say I'd rather be lucky than good, you know?
Yeah, that's a phrase that my dad definitely taught me, and I live by as well. Well, I mean, a podium here will do you no harm. And looking down, this, I think, is your first podium of the season. Can you repeat this in the last couple races that we've got in the next few months?
I don't know. We'll see. I feel like I'm going to be chasing Lenny Holland for the rest of the season, and he just pulls away from me like greased lightning.
He definitely looks tough, but don't sell yourself short. Like I said, you're doing pretty well considering how new you are to PCA and the talent you're up against. Congratulations on a third place today.
Thanks, Joe, and we appreciate you guys at RaceSpot calling the race. It's really fantastic. Thank you.
It's Kevin Jokel, your third place finisher here for event 4. Well, that's going to wrap us up. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to PCA as well. Make sure and join us next Wednesday night, October 23rd, as we'll come back for the next class, which is sports. Had to check that real quick here, and that'll again be at Summit Point. But a big thank you goes to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as our team, Michael and Hugo. And thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA. I'm Joe Peak. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.